Anyone have a good lunch? No? Yes? Yes? Okay. So, well, this morning we have already done 3 exercises, and I think you already covered most of these ones. So let's continue. Now, what I didn't tell you before the break, before you're doing the sales and marketing, actually, these are the 5 questions that I use when a startup venture comes to us and try to get us to invest in the company. I always ask them to answer these 5 questions. If you can also answer these 5 questions really, really well, then the investor will love your company. So, and they are, first question is, how do you acquire your customer? How do they know about your company and come to your shop or come to your website in the first place? How? Acquire. So remember this. And the second thing is, how do you activate them? What do you mean by activating them is they will sign up, they start giving you the information, their name, their email address, the telephone number. Why would they do that when they, okay, after they come to your shop, to the website, why would they sign up? Retain. How do you make them come back? Why would they come back again? Having seen your company, having signed up with your service or whatever, why would they come back? And then refer. And why would they then start telling their friends and family and say, wow, this is a great company, you should also sign up? Actually, as you read this, right, if you think about it, for example, think Facebook. Wow, they are very, very, very successful. You know, why would they come? You know, because my friends are there already, and I have lots of things to see. How do they make me sign up? My friend actually refer me, and they, you know, I just need to say yes, create my account. How do they make me come back again? You know, there's just lots of reasons. We can think of Facebook. Think of something else. Why would you go to Google website? But do you ever sign up? You know, things like that. But what's most important for the investor, however, is that how do you get paid? You know, why would you get paid? Is it subscription? Is it advertising? Is it sales? Is it commission? You know, why would you get paid? Now, there's one thing I can help you to remember this. I actually saw this when I was at a venture capital conference. And if you actually take down the acronym, AARRR. And in that conference, they told me that this is the pirate way of marketing. So think about so AARRR. Remember that. That's how I remember it. So acquire, activate, retain, refer, and revenue. But seriously, if you can really tell me, you know, these 5 questions, you have good answers, convincing answers, then definitely you have a good business. But it's not easy. I mean, how is Facebook getting paid? Well, advertising, but that's all they have right now. But anyway, actually, if you think of eBay, this is actually a very good model. And Amazon, or you know, any successful company you can think of. So this is something I didn't tell you before the marketing exercise. But now, if you think in terms of this, in the marketing, sales and marketing, that's all you need. Now, one other thing I should tell you is that since you are starting a social enterprise, or maybe you're starting a new company as a business commercial company, you don't really have customer yet. You don't even have a product yet. So if you give me a projection of like for your 5 years revenue, it's not going to be correct, right? I mean, you can't even tell me what the stock market looks like in 5 years, or next year, or even 5 months. So projections of financials is actually always at best a wild guess. But if you can answer these 5 questions really well, convincingly, it's even better than the projection that you give me from an investor's perspective. So this is something I always tell the entrepreneur. You know, projections, you do it just for the sake of, yes, you have done it, you have thought about your market, but these are the real questions that I want to have answers. Okay, now we can put the sales and marketing aside. Now we're on the strategic analysis, which was not covered in the 10 slides, because in the 10 slide that executive summary, you probably don't have time for this. So this is for your full plan when you actually want to extend your executive summary. And I want you to cover some of these in your strategic analysis. So 3 things. You should have a thorough understanding of the industry. If it's something that product or even services, sometimes what is the value chain from the raw material to who's manufacturing your product? How are you going to ship your product, the logistics, everything? So are you just on the sales side, or do you actually also ship your product, or do you actually manufacture your product? These are important analysis. So the investor will know whether you have a single point of failure, whether you're vulnerable to changes in manufacturing, or even if you need to ship from somewhere, you are affected by exchange rate. That's something that you also need to know, whether your business really is vulnerable to something. Competitive analysis that you in the previous slide we say competition, but here I really more in-depth comparison. Not just knowing them, but your competitor, and then what are their strengths and weaknesses. Who are the customers? Will they switch to you? Who are the suppliers? Can they give you the same deal, or can they actually switch to give you an exclusive deal? That sort of thing. The market analysis that you have done some already. Does the market actually exist? How big is it? And can you capture? What is the addressable market that you can actually capture? We talk about you can have that. The entire market is big, but you can't capture the whole thing. But if you can capture a niche market, that is still a good thing. And then I want you to do something on the client analysis. So you've also done some already in terms of positioning and the performance of your possible performance of your company. And then the SWOT analysis is quite a standard technique, right? So in terms of the market that you're facing and the client that are expecting, what are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunity and threats. We'll go through all of these in more detail. So I'll just quickly go through. Strategy, the gap analysis. This is not just it's not the gap we talked about before in the market. This is the gap in terms of your skill sets, your resources. What do you need? What are you missing? What are the option evaluation? So on the strategic side, you have limited resources, so you may not be able to do everything. The group just mentioned they want to capture 300 cities with 500 customers each. That's not possible. What are the options that are possible? What are the options that are more viable with your limited resources? And therefore, you should tell your investor or tell your team that this is why we do this. This is the strategy we're going for. These are the options. These are the limited resources, and this is the implementation plan we tend to execute this plan. So that's the overview of the industry analysis. Now, you don't put this in the executive summary because this will be too much, right? For a 20 minutes presentation. In fact, in your case, 15. But when you do the full plan, you should include this. I already mentioned a lot of this, so I'll try to skip through this quickly. Value chain analysis, the key determination of value. What I mean by that is, if I give you an example, a value chain, for example, iPhone. Does Apple produce iPhone? No. Who actually produce manufacturing iPhone? Foxconn. So where is the value? Who actually has the most value? Apple. So you need to know. So I mean, I'm not saying it's not good to be Foxconn. You still make money, but you want to be Apple more than you want to be Foxconn, right? Because you don't carry as much capital expenditure. You don't carry as much fixed assets. Yet you create actually more value. So when you look at your industry, the thing that you're trying to do, think about where the value really is. You don't want to be in the place where the deemed to be no value. So for example, another example would be commodity, right? If you are the supplier of materials to Foxconn, you are also at a place where the value is not great. But it doesn't mean you don't have a business. You may somehow make some good money, but you just need to know where the money is, where the value is, and where the margin is. That's the determination of value. Now, for your business in the social enterprise, it probably is not something as sophisticated as that. You could be providing just a service. There's not many segments in your value chain, but I just want to show you the things that we do as a consultant for this kind of thing. So the kind of company involved in delivering the customer value, because you can't do things alone. So who are those other companies that would affect your delivery? And then also, how do they interact with each other? Meaning, this is to see who has a perceived power. In the case of Apple, they own the intellectual property. Even though Foxconn could be the best company to produce it for them, but if Apple decided that I don't want to partner with Foxconn anymore, I can go to any other company. They actually have all the power. They can actually change the manufacturer. So, but sometimes there are dramatic changes. Let me give you an example. In the old days, right, everybody buy the record or CD in a record store. So if you are a distributor or if you are a record label, you have all the power over the singer. They have to sign up your business. They have to sign up as an artist under your company because you help them to distribute through and establish offline channel. So you see the interaction and perceived power in those days. But today, you could just, for example, the first song that was downloaded 100 million times in China was 老鼠爱大米. The guy came from nowhere. He was not under any record label, but somehow the channel has shifted. He no longer needs the company. He can distribute his song, but then he didn't make any money out of the 100 million download. But then the record company actually come to him and want to sign him up and properly distribute his song. So you see the interaction and the perceived power is actually important in the real business. I mean, again, I think what you're thinking for your social enterprise, it is not as critical, but this is actually important in the real world. So what are the industry trends? Meaning, is the market changing? Is regulation changing? In China, for example, because of the WTO, they used to control a lot of industry where no one can actually go in and enter, like insurance or banking, education. But under some regulations and rules, they have to slowly open up things. So does that mean there's a trend for some company or some industry that would have a better opportunity? So these are the things that would affect the industry. So, I mean, for example, last week, Hong Kong just announced that for Chinese medicine, for the ready to OTC, over-the-counter sort of Chinese medicine, has to register with the centralized database. Otherwise, it's actually illegal. So suddenly, this is a dramatic change for the retail medicine business. So a lot of things will go off shelf, and then a lot of things that you cannot bring. These are, if you are in this business that's going to experience some sort of industry trend and changes, and you're not aware of them, you could go out overnight, right, of your business. Actually, another example, not directly related to this trend, but anybody heard of a company in Hong Kong called Pancake? As in P-E-N, not P-A-N. Anyone on Facebook that have ever used something like answer 5 questions to test your psychology or whatever? Those were actually written by Pancake. You've been using this without realizing. But the reason I mentioned that was they were the number 3 apps provider on Facebook. I said were. Because, Facebook has 500 million users, registered users, and Pancake has reached 40 million users per month using their apps. Now, but then one day, Facebook said they're going to ban Pancake altogether. Overnight, they shut down all their apps. So, because they actually step over the line, they spam people and things. You see, that is something, when you do investment, you look at the industry, look at what they do. They step over the regulation of Facebook, and they got shut down overnight. but they were number 2, number 3 player in the market. So it's actually quite interesting to see. And that's a Hong Kong company reaching number 3 on Facebook. That is quite something. They even make CNN headline news. So know your trend, know the emerging trend and the impact on the industry. So competitive analysis, we already said a little bit on that, right? So who are the competitors, and what market share are they enjoying, and why? Are you going to steal market share from them, or are you going to create a bigger pie so there will be more people using the service? What is the service offered by the competitor? Why are you different? What are their better position? How are you better at? And also, since these are competitors, they are in the same industry. Surely they must have some partnership asset or other resources that that would affect their positioning. And these are also the same resources that you want to grab or leverage. And how are these companies organized? There must be some reason they are organized in a certain way. And then, so who actually makes the decision and who calls the shot in those organizations? Are you going to create the same organization because it's the right organization? Or are you actually going to find weaknesses in this organization or the offering and actually come up with something better? So what are the strengths and weaknesses? Now, an interesting example that we had talked about earlier, have anybody actually taken flight from like Air Asia or Air Asia from Malaysia? Yeah, budget airlines like Ryanair, EasyJet. Anybody? Oh, yeah. Now, if you use that as an example, it's actually very, very, very interesting. When they started with all these huge companies, American Airlines, British Airways, Air France, KLM, Cathay Pacific, Singapore Airlines, they were all around. If someone tells you that I'm going to create an airline, I'm going to beat all of these, you think they're really foolish and they're dreaming. But they did it. How did they do it? Well, actually, if you think about, if I ask you as a consumer and taking a flight, what is your major factor? Number 1 criteria. It's actually safety. You want to arrive safely. But unless you are taking, in the old days, right? Unless you're taking Korean Air, Air India, China Airline, as in the Taiwanese one, China Airline. Unless you're taking those airlines, right, you don't think about safety because they should be all safe enough. So actually, safety is number 1, but then you don't think about it unless you're taking Aeroport. This is true. But then the next thing is actually price. So the budget airline were very, very clever. They look at this thing and say, well, can we make it cheaper? That's all the consumer wants. So when they look at the competitor, how are they organized and things, you find there's a lot of inefficiency in big airlines, and there's a lot of things that rooms for cutting costs, and that's why the Ryanair, the EasyJet has created a business. And let me tell you, first of all, Ryanair, the entire headquarters of Ryanair is smaller than the financial department of Lufthansa. Think about that. Lufthansa has a financial department bigger than the entire headquarters of Ryanair. So how inefficient is that, right? And think about Ryanair or EasyJet, they don't have a loyalty plan. They don't fly to the best or the most convenient airport. They fly to a slightly off kind of center airport, but it's much cheaper. Ryanair only has one type of plane, 737 or Airbus 300. They don't have 747, 767, 727. Think of that maintenance is a nightmare. They don't fly longer than 4 hours flight. Think of a plane touchdown below another batch of people paying revenue. Think about a plane that flies from Hong Kong to London. They have no new revenue until 14 hours later. All these things. Think about no catering on the plane, so you don't have to have a hot plate area for the less air hostess to serve the people. One less personnel on the plane. Think about that cost saving. Think about no sales agent, only go direct to, you have to buy ticket online. So they don't pay the 6-7% to the ticket agent. And now think about all these costs, and then they still, even if they still make the same margin or same money as the big airline, right? They can give you all this cost saving back to the customer, and that's why they are successful. And of course, they don't compete, or they shouldn't compete in Hong Kong to London flight, right? There are already so many. That's why Oasis went down, because Oasis competing with Cathay Singapore Airlines, all these companies flying Hong Kong to London. No way. So that's why they actually didn't survive. Now, so if you were Ryanair, the guy was from, of course he was from airline industry, otherwise he doesn't understand the model. But he saw a lot of things in the competitor, how they were inefficient, how they were, the way they organized were inefficient. There were lots of costs that they can squeeze out and give back to the customer. And by the way, that was what the customer ranked number one, number two, cost. One other thing that's also true. They created new routes which were kind of, as I said, kind of off from the key cities, slightly off center. So they're actually creating a new route. That's why I said they were in new market. They were not actually in old market. Very, very clever as a case study. And we already did some market analysis. So how big is the market? Is it growing? If you have to, I see some group already broken it down to like demographic or psychographic. And then what are the trends in each market? Definitely we want to be in the growing market. You don't want to be in the dying market. Who wants to sell a fax machine today? Right? You don't want to be a fax machine sales because you definitely can't make any money. So, is it the growing market? That's actually very, very important. It's just like, you want to be an iPhone sales, you don't want to be a Palm Pre 2. This is the latest model of sales. So the market trend and who are your target customer. And then, of course, what other opportunities, and threats to these market actually present. Now, opportunities, for example, is with the iPhone, we have iPhone apps. So with the iPhone apps, you can create more advertising. This is a completely new channel of advertising that no one tapped. Of course, they want to advertise on mobile phone before, but then nobody did it very well until the iPhone App Store came along, and then people are actually using the apps, and then you can put the advertising. So these are interesting opportunities that did not exist before, even though you are using the phone. We've been using the phone for 13, 14 years. But new trends and things. Okay, client analysis. So, in terms of the performance and position, how are do you have the right resources and assets to actually execute? So what are they? In terms of IT infrastructure or skills, or are there any intangible assets like IP patents that you can have? What partners and alliances that you can leverage, right? So in the eyeglasses case, right, a lot of people talk about partnering with NGO, partnering with government. For the e-learning case, we want to partner with other schools or mobile phone company. So these are the partnerships and alliances that you can leverage for obvious reasons. So what is the current business plan model position in the market? So the reason is, today you may be targeting the third world for your eyeglasses, but tomorrow, as you have more R&D, we discussed this just now, right? It's not trendy, so the rich world doesn't like it. This is not a good product. But as you sell more, you have more R&D, maybe you can make something better. So current market versus your future market, how you can actually move. And constantly you should think about how you can improve. You may be doing well in some area, but how can you actually improve and stay with a competitive edge over all your competitors? And now, for the last part, it's not really for the startup, because this is more, once you are an established company, you must have some ongoing initiative, and you should always keep track of how they are actually performing. So this is not really for, that last part is not for existing company. I mean for startup company. I think I don't have to say too much on the SWOT analysis, because I think most of you probably have done this before, but you just need to know, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how do you try to manage your weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So now on the strategy side, the gap analysis. So what would be your hypothesis of the of options and gaps in the market or gaps in your skill set, and how you plan to close them, and how do you document these plans to closing the gaps, and what are the options, given that you don't actually, I mean, of course, you would want to do everything, but that's always never possible in the real life, because you always need infinite number of people to execute all your plans, and infinite amount of money to carry out all your plans. So you have to prioritize and think about what options and what gaps that you are addressing will give you the biggest impact, whether it's for your business or whether it's the social impact assessment. So you still have to think about what options are the best option to actually to deliver the biggest impact, and also in that case, what other resources you need. Now again, this is more for a company that already in existence to identify some of the gaps and how to make themselves better. And then the extra resources, am I going to hire another person for sales? Am I going to pour more money in R&D? So what are the options to bridge those gaps? We talked about the options already. So when you come up with different options, think about the size of the impact and then prioritizing. Now usually you can also, in consulting we love to talk about the 2x2 matrix. One is the impact or value, and then the other one is the ease of implementation. And if something is easy to implement and give you the highest impact, that's a no-brainer. Of course you should do those first, because it's the easiest to implement and highest impact. But then you have to choose whether you do something that's very difficult to do, but it gives you a high impact if you have the resources, right? Or something that actually doesn't give you a lot of impact, but it's very, very easy to do, the low-hanging fruit. And if it's something fall into very difficult and no impact, then of course we should forget those, right? So that gives you a framework of how to evaluate certain options that you want to execute initiative. Now, of course, the implementation roadmap, this is more for convincing the management to how you, under each options, this is the timeline, this is the resource against it, this is how we track progress, and this is how the whole thing will roll out, and this is the expected result of this implementation. That's the strategy analysis. Okay, now, so we've moved through more on the analysis now, so we want to do the exercise 4, which is to do the strategic analysis of the two companies. So again, if you were doing the eyeglasses last time, you do the e-learning. And I think it's interesting to keep flipping a little bit.
Basically, they're using common they are like concepts. What resources do you about the company from here, or here, this one. Yeah. And the first page. So there's the courses right here, and all the materials on the side. So you need it's not like content. You need teachers, right?
You include them in the same. So basically, you need. I don't know whether you use.
We use like the model that we use all the information service provider in Hong Kong, like we use network here to secure the platform.
So we
雙樹裏面都有好多嘢，收細少少。雙樹裏面都有好多嘢。
You can actually do it when we're at the time of close to so it should be anyone from China it's more like it's more close to